we as humans love to lie to ourselves. And as much as we wish that that wasn't the case, and as much as we wish those things didn't happen, it's ultimately a big lie. Because, when someone asks, or when someone tells you that you're not committed enough, or you're not putting in enough work, and you don't want it enough, to a certain extent, that might be true. Because if you say you want to run a marathon, and then you don't train, it's not going to get done. And I think it's something that plagues my generation and a bunch of other people who are in a creative mindset, because they think that work gets done by doing nothing, or they think that an opportunity is going to get handed to them by doing the bare minimum. And, I'm guilty of this too, because I think it's just human nature to expect things to happen to you, good things to happen to you, by doing the bare minimum or by doing less work, because you think you're justified and you think that you deserve it. And in reality, that's not true, because, certain things happen because you put in the work. And doing the bare minimum, no matter how much work you think you put in, that's not the reality. Unfortunately, there's going to be certain things that, will happen in your life. But it's tricky. It's tricky because bad things happen to people all the time. Even though, they might be good people. I mean, there's so many good people out there in the world, but just bad stuff happens. So it goes back to, the title of this video. How committed are you? How committed are you to your work? How committed are you to your family? How committed are you to whatever you do? I mean, in any field, how committed are you? How committed are you to get things done? Are you chasing your dream? How ambitious are you? Like, do you see 10 miles down the road of what you want? Because at least for me, I'm kind of in this, filmmaking situation. I'm just learning every single day, writing, screenwriting, blah, blah, blah. If you look 10 miles down the road and you don't have, even just a blurry sense of what you want to do, I'm not saying you're a bum. I mean, I think that's just kind of arrogant and stupid. I'm just saying that it's tricky, and it's a really slippery slope, because everybody has their own journey. It's different for every single person. But at the same time, those people who say, oh, I want to be a great writer-director one day. Oh, I want to be, like David Cho. I want to be like, Monet. I want to be like Picasso. But then nothing gets done. They don't put their work out. They're too scared to, release what they want to release because of what other people think about them. I mean, another tangent. I don't understand why so many people in the world care what other people think about them, to the certain aspect that, and this happened to me because, there's times where I care what other people think about me, but then, when my family gives me some advice or some feedback, I'd much rather take the people who don't care about me, their advice, their criticism, more than, the love and the advice that my own family members give to me. I mean, at the end of the day, I think what I have kind of concocted and visualized for myself is that most of these people don't care what you're doing, and the people who do care, it's just because they have nothing better to do in their lives. I mean, they'd rather spread hate. They'd rather, take time out of their own day. I mean, you don't get this time back. You only get 24 hours, and then those 24 hours are gone, and then you go on to the next day. And those people have nothing better to do. And at the end of the day, they're not going to pay your bills. At the end of the day, they are not going to pay your bills. They're not going to put food on the table. So why care what they think? It's ridiculous. I mean, there's so many people who I know who have been stunted in their progress in chasing what they wanted in life because of what they thought other people thought about them. They're like, oh, what if they think it's bad? They're judging me. Look at the comments. And it's a little arrogant for me to say, oh, it's so stupid because, I've been in that situation before. But I think my mindset changed to the point where it was like, okay, well, there's hateful people in the world everywhere, and they're just going to hate just to hate. And there's a certain point where it kind of has to shift and be like, okay, you can hate no matter what you're going to do, you're just going to hate. And I'm going to go on my own path because of the commitment. I mean, at the end of the day, it's commitment. I mean, bottom line, commitment to what you want to do, you know? The like the immovable force. You feel immovable and you feel like you just can't be stopped. I think that mindset is more constructive than, like the stoic, guys who are going to sell you a course or something like that. I think it's more productive to think that, to a certain extent, I'm not saying like, oh, just go do a like dramatic life change and like sell all your things and, like move to Alaska or something like that. But I'm saying that, to feel like an immovable force, it's really positive. It can be really positive in your life just because, even though people will hate, or even though you don't believe in yourself, in the most best or in the best way you can believe in yourself, if you feel like you're immovable, if you feel like you have a commitment, and if you feel like you have an obligation to do these things because you know you have a gift, I think that's tricky because a lot of people who are in the creative space, they don't believe they have a gift. They don't believe in themselves, and they don't believe that they can get things done. When in reality, a lot of creative people have a gift. They have talent. And I think that what separates good artists from great artists is the fact that they understand that the majority of people in the artistic field or in their, medium, they all have talent. They have talent. They have their own view on how they view things, right? But I think what separates them is their drive, that immovable force and their commitment to their own work. Because there can be a person who takes pride in their own work, but then, they don't execute it. There's just certain things that I think happen in our lives that need to happen. I mean, in order to get things done, because at the end of the day, if we want our greatest dreams to happen, it, number one, has to be from us. Okay? No, there's going to be opportunities that pop up, but the opportunities aren't coming to us. That has to come from us. It has to stem from our drive and our commitment to our work. I mean, it can be for anything, music, painting, filmmaking, anything, making videos. It's a commitment to your work and understanding that these opportunities can only happen in your life if you, make them happen. If you make them happen, if you do the work, if you're committed enough to do it, your commitment to your own work. A lot of people don't take pride in their own works, and that's the reason why these opportunities might not show up. And they're like, oh, I have so much brain fog. And I'm a victim of this too. I mean, I had my writing software open and I just stared at the screen, or I was scrolling on my phone, or I was looking at motivational videos. I think that's a big hoax too. Because I think a lot of people get caught up in that process of watching or taking in a bunch of motivational content and then just taking it in. You watch, oh, this motivational video, I feel so motivated. And then you go back to doom scrolling on your phone until you get tired and then go to bed. I mean, it happens more times than I'd like to admit. So by all means, I'm not perfect. And nobody's perfect. And you have to realize that. And I think that a lot of great artists, they can't be great because they let that affect them way too much. Way too much. Because at a certain point, a lot of people who are trying to make it, they treat others like they're perfect, and they think that what they see on the internet has to be true. I mean, it's such a hoax. When you see someone on the internet succeeding, that's only a snippet out of their life because you didn't visualize, the sleepless nights or whatever they had to do to make it happen. When in reality, some of those things you see on the internet aren't even true. They're LARPing. It's an illusion. And we cannot buy into what they're selling. Because at the end of the day, your commitment to what you want to do is going to be the reason of your success. Because if you say you want to be the greatest director of all time, the greatest painter, the greatest artist of all time, but then don't put any work and don't have the drive or the commitment, then it will never happen. I mean, at least for me, I say I want all these things to happen, but it's going to come from me. I have to be putting in the work. And I have to be honest, more times than not, I've been extremely lazy and I've been procrastinating and I've been putting stuff to the side because I've been critiquing how perfect or how good my work has to be, or how, or my visualization. Oh, they think that's a bad idea. I think that's a great part about art because there's not like a wrong answer. I think it's counterintuitive to think that there's a right answer to art. And maybe not AI generated art, because some of that stuff is slop. And I know I'm like, oh, well, art is art. But I think real art is created by human beings who understand the fact that, they put a part of themselves into their work. Because I don't think AI can do that. AI can't put itself into the work, like physically. Where a person, no matter how bad it might be, no matter how bad you think it is 10 times better than AI art because you're putting a part of yourself into that. You're feeling vulnerable. You're putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. And, another tangent, it's that we have to put ourselves in more uncomfortable situations. Like genuinely seeking to be embarrassed, seeking to feel uncomfortable, because that's the only way you can get life experience. That's the only way you can grow as a person. Because if you ever meet a closed-minded person who's not willing to try new experiences, it's really difficult for them later on. And then they can regret however much they want to. But it's true. If you aren't actively trying to learn new things every single day, you aren't going to be great. You aren't going to achieve the goals that you most want. It has to be from you, not to you. So that's the video. I haven't made a video in like 3 weeks. A little bit inconsistent, but I'm hoping to upload a little bit more consistently. So that's the video. If you watched all the way through, thank you so much for watching the video. And I'll see you in the next one.